Chapter 12. Anna. Flying was the bomb. The jungle slipped beneath Anna, brimming with the shrieks of birds, the buzz of insects. Three-fourths of Team Killbot skimmed the canopy like a hot air balloon, the treetops brushing their feet. It wasn't technically flying, Anna reminded herself. She, Javi, and Molly couldn't maintain their altitude. They wafted down every 30 seconds or so, crashing softly into the web of branches before pushing off again. But even if it was only jumping, it was jumping really far. Each push took them hundreds of feet through the mists. Molly had found bungee cords in someone's luggage, and the team was tied together so nobody drifted out of the gravity's device range, which is about 30 feet. The three of them had learned to jump in tandem to keep from spinning like a bola, but whenever a gust of wind stirred the misty treetops, it carried them adrift. Anna wondered if there was a way to control their flight. Maybe if they made wings, or some kind of fan like the propellers on an airship. "Yoshi! Are you out there?" Molly cried out at the top of their next leap. Anna listened as they arced downward into the treetops. No answer except for a stirring of the birds that sounded like rusty hinges. She had distinguished 4 species by sound: the rusty hinge birds, the cranky baby birds, the slide whistle birds, and of course, the shredder birds. Luckily, she hadn't heard any of those since they attacked Javi back at camp. "Okay," Molly called. "Looks like this tree's yours, Javi." "I got it." Their next landing tree was coming right at Javi, who was in the middle of the three of them. As they descended into the canopy, he reached out and grabbed the passing treetop. Anna felt the bungee cord pull at her waist, then she swung in a slow arc past Molly, coming from the other direction. Their combined momentum bent the tree like a catapult, readying to fire. It swung back, trying to throw them in the direction they'd just come from. Javi clung on grimly as the treetop swayed back and forth to a gradual stop. "I still don't love flying." "Are you kidding?" Molly laughed at him. "This is awesome." "I concur," Anna said. Even with the laws of physics bending around them, this was the most normal she'd felt since the crash. The numbness inside her was finally lifting. Maybe it was the jungle stretching out below her, full of life and color and sound, or maybe it was getting away from the crashed plane and its gaping rows of torn-out seats. "There's something I don't get," Javi said, as the three untangled their bungee cords. "If we barely weigh anything, how come we bend the treetops so much?" "Yeah, and my legs are getting sore," Molly said. "Even with gravity switched off, this is hard work." Anna's mind spun a moment, and then the answer came. "We're like an asteroid. Rocks in space are totally weightless, but they can still crush you. They have momentum. They have—" "Mass!" Javi cried out. "Right," Anna said. "Remember when Mr. Keating explained the difference between weight and mass?" Molly looked away, and Anna realized what she had said. In her mind's eye, she saw Mr. Keating being lifted into the air and flung from the plane. The numbness closed in again like she was packed in mud. An awkward silence fell over the group. "Sorry," Anna finally said. "It's okay," Molly said. "But maybe don't mention him in front of Oliver." "I don't want to talk about him either," Anna said. "I just want to jump and find Yoshi. I like him." Molly smiled. "Me too. You guys ready?" Anna checked the bungee cord connecting her to Javi and nodded. They pushed off hard, and soon Team Killbot was arcing through the air again, leaving dark thoughts behind. As they drifted up into the mists, Molly cried out, "You out there, Yoshi!" Anna listened, but heard nothing except the calls of slide whistle birds. She tried the radio again, which only sputtered with the usual static. "Check that out," Javi called, pointing. Thrusting up from the surface of the jungle canopy was a stand of much taller trees. They were spindly and thin-trunked, crisscrossed with vines. They reached so high that their tops were lost in the mist, and they seemed to be arranged in a perfect circle. "That's weird," Anna said. "Yeah," Molly said. "It looks like someone planted them that way." Anna looked at her. Mind if we take a detour? Molly nodded, and on the next jump they angled their path toward the taller trees. As they drew nearer, Anna saw that the area was buzzing with life. Bright flowers covered the trees, and iridescent lizards leaped from vine to vine. A cacophony of birds filled the branches, shrieking as they jostled with each other. It was almost deafening, but just barely. Anna could hear another noise from deep within the stand of trees. A very familiar noise. It sounded like a half-clogged drain pipe sputtering up blood and gristle, like a wild boar trying to form words in some hideous unknown language. It sent a 10-foot icicle up Anna's spine. Shredder birds. Lots of them. "Uh-oh," Anna said. "Plan A," Molly called. She reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out a signal flare. With a horrible gabble, a ripple of green emerged from the taller trees. At least 100 birds in tight formation. Molly tore off the top of the flare. It sputtered to life, sparks and smoke trailing behind her as she flew. The flock of shredder birds reacted, coiling away from the hissing flame, and heading straight toward Anna. Anna realized the problem with Plan A. With the 3 of them spread out on bungee cords, she was too far from the flame. She went for her own flare. "Save it!" Molly yelled. "Javi, pull us closer together." Javi grabbed both the cords leading from his belt and yanked. Anna felt herself slewing sideways through the air, headed in toward Javi. Molly came flying in from the opposite side, the flare hissing in her hand. The birds' formation split and went shrieking in all directions, a storm of wings enveloping Team Killbot just as Anna and Molly crashed into each other. Anna clung to the gravity device and Molly shrieked, the smell of burning hair filling Anna's lungs. The 2 bounced back, tumbling through the air, and Anna saw the flare go spinning down into the jungle. "Ouch! Crap!" Molly yelled, batting at her smoking hair. Anna looked at the shredder birds. They had streamed past, but a moment later the flock was wheeling around again. "Incoming," she said. "I'll use mine." Javi held his flare up. "No, we've only got 2 more," Molly cried. "Go to Plan B." Anna smiled. She'd been really wanting to try Plan B. She switched the device off, then back on again as quickly as she could. A sickening jolt of normal gravity hit her stomach. Weightlessness came back a moment later, but the sudden burst of gravity had bent their course, sending the 3 of them downward through the trees. The shrieking birds missed again, passing overhead as fronds and branches slapped at Anna's face. Then a bungee cord snagged and went taut. Anna found herself spinning, wrapped around a tree like a tetherball. Finally, she crashed into Javi, sending a shower of leaves in all directions. "Ow!" he said. "Sorry." Anna noticed that the explosion of leaves around them was weightless, expanding like a balloon in the air. "Whoa, that's pretty." "They're turning around again!" Molly shouted from above, where she was tangled in the cords. "Don't they ever stop?" "They didn't stop coming at me until I was on the ground," Javi stared at Anna. "Not until you—" "Turn the device off," Anna said. She looked at the glowing machine in her hands. Maybe the birds were attracted to it somehow, which meant she should turn it off, except— She looked down at the ground, at least 50 feet below. With normal gravity on, they would tumble to their deaths. "Fly to the ground, quick!" Molly unclipped the bungee cord from her belt and kicked off downward from the tree. She pulled her way past branches like a diver descending through seaweed. Javi managed to unwind himself and followed. But as Anna unhooked the clip from her belt, she realized that a bungee cord was wrapped around her leg. She was roped to the tree tight. The shredder birds were drawing closer, their screams rending the air. "Uh-oh," she said. "Anna, get moving!" Molly called from her below, dangerously close to the edge of the device's range. "I'm stuck." Anna hooked herself to the bungee cord again, then flung her arms around the tree trunk. "Grab onto something in 5, 4, 3. At 0, she turned the device off. Normal gravity struck, and Anna skidded down the trunk a little, but the bungee cord bit into her leg, jerking her to a halt. She swayed in the air, the narrow treetops sagging under her weight. But she didn't fall. The birds came shrieking in, but it was like a targeting beacon had been switched off. The flock scattered through the branches, slicing off fronds and leaves. only a few razor-sharp beaks nipping at Anna's arms and face. A moment later they had disappeared into the mists again. She clung to the tree, ignoring the blood seeping from her wounds and the cord squeezing the life from her leg. "You okay?" Molly called up. "Fine." Anna's voice sounded calm in her own ears, but her heart was beating hard now. "Can you guys hold on another minute?" "No problem," Javi called. A minute sounded right to Anna. She was happy hanging onto this branch for 60 seconds before turning the device back on, if it meant the shredder birds were long gone. 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, she calmly counted. But her mind was aflame again, her numbness erased by the pulse of danger in her veins. Weird how a bunch of birds would be attracted by a machine, especially one that had never existed before, because a device that bent the laws of science had to be brand new, right? 8, 1,000, 9, 1,000, 10, 1,000. She went on, feeling tingles in her bungee-wrapped leg. Of course, this whole jungle was pretty much outside the bounds of science. The white sky, the strange birds and plants, the fact that the airplane crashed in a jungle instead of ice and snow. This place was just as weird as the device. By the time Anna had finished counting to 60 and was ready to turn the machine back on and drift down to the ground, she had come to a conclusion that she knew was very strange and yet made perfect sense. The gravity device and this jungle were connected somehow.